Welcome to the Home Education with Ease podcast. I'm your host, Christine Furman, a homeschool mom, entrepreneur, and educator with over 20 years of experience in the areas of elementary and special education. It's my mission to help you create lifelong learners and embrace a holistic approach to education at home. I'll be sharing practical strategies, inspiration, and resources to support your family. Whether you're a stay-at-home mom, a business owner, or balancing work and homeschool, you're in the right place to connect with a community that values education just as much as you do. Join us each week as we ditch the stress, embrace the joy of learning, and set your family up for a lifetime of success. Welcome back to Home Education with Ease. I'm your host, Christine Furman, and today I am super excited to chat with you about the freedom and flexibility that comes with educating our kids at home. Now, this is a topic that I am very passionate about, and it's one that I discuss often in different areas and throughout my podcast. But today, we're going to talk about it a little bit differently on a few topics that have come up recently in conversations with friends, clients, and frankly, some of these conversations and some of these things that I've shared with others, I've been a little uncomfortable to put them out here. But I'm ready. I'm ready to share it with you now because I really do feel it's going to help us have true freedom and flexibility and really, allow us to embrace home education with our kids. And what does that mean? And what does that look like? So for me, I've always felt like I was kind of like the one out in left field, right? The one that had different ideas, different thoughts than the majority. And I kind of, hid myself a little bit thinking that that was a negative thing. Until recently, I realized that that actually is one of my gifts. And I'm excited to share that with you. Sometimes we don't always align with everyone else. We don't align with the standards or the society. But for me, that gives me so much peace, knowing that that's okay. And I would encourage you, if you feel like you have ideas that go against the grain, I want you to embrace them. If your kids have ideas that are, seem far-fetched and like, how can that be? Embrace that because that is a gift. Well, let's dive into this a little bit more because this really is so near and dear to my heart. And we're going to talk about a few things. So we're going to talk about freedom. And I want to know, what does that mean to you? So think about that, freedom. And when you think the word freedom, you may think America, right? Our freedom in our country, if you're from the USA. But what does that mean as far as us personally? What does that mean with our children if we are educating our kids at home? What does that look like? The other thing I want you to think about is flexibility. And I want to know, what does that look like for you and your family? That could be different for everyone. You could be homeschooling your children, and that's what you do. And you have the freedom to homeschool your children throughout the day, whenever you want to. You could be homeschooling your children and running a business. So your day may look a little more time blocked, right? Because you have to fit in more things. You could be a stay-at-home mom. What does that look like? What does your flexibility look like that way? Okay. So there's so many different ways that our freedom and flexibility can affect our lives, and they're different for everyone. So I would love to hear from you. Okay. I want to know in the EduPlay Learning Home Education with Ease Facebook group. So it's our private Facebook group. I highly suggest you joining it because we talk about all of these topics even further. And I'm going to be sharing with you even more information and little insights from the podcast as well. Okay. So I want to know, what brings your family joy? Think about that. Think about freedom, flexibility, and what brings your family joy. And let's talk about how that all plays in a part while we're educating our kids at home. So make sure you join that Facebook group, and we have the opportunity to have a conversation there. And that link definitely is going to be in the show notes below. So don't forget to grab that link there. All right. Well, let's get started. Okay, let's first talk about freedom, right? And I told you, remember, think about what does that look like for your family? Well, I saw something recently and it made me stop in my tracks. And I was like, whoa, that is good. And sometimes maybe we're looking at things the wrong way, right? Someone said, right, being wealthy. When we think of people being wealthy, we think of yachts or private jets or exclusive vacations or can go and shop at the boutiques, right? All of these things. And yes, we may aspire to have that kind of a wealth and we may want those things. I know for me personally, I've gone around for years saying that I want a pink, sparkly jet. And if you know me and you know that I love pink and sparkles, you know that that seems just about right. And how much we travel back and forth, like, yeah, just wait for my pink sparkly jet and then I can get to anywhere that I need to get. So, of course, it's great to want things like that and aspire to be able to do these things. But what does it really mean to be wealthy? And this is what this quote said. It said, real wealth means having lunch with your kids daily, taking walks in the middle of the afternoon, going to the gym at 10 a.m. You can go with or without your kids at that point, right? That is what it really means. And to me, that just sat with me so much. And I was like, yes, that brings me peace. Me being home with my kids every day, providing them with the best possible education that I can, setting them up for success and knowing that they truly can achieve anything in this world, and being present with them, even if I have a million tasks that I've got going on, right? Just today, they were in here creating curriculum with me. We were doing things together, and I loved it. Of course, sometimes we have our moments of frustration. That's normal, right? We're with our families and kids all the time. But truly being with our kids, being able to sit down at the kitchen table for breakfast, lunch, dinner, what a blessing that is. And I don't take that for granted. What a blessing it is that I can say, you know what? It's a beautiful afternoon. We've done enough work. I need a break and I need to get away from the computer. Let's go for a walk. Let's go to the park. Let's enjoy time together. And then going to the gym, this also brought me to another point, right? And probably wasn't what they intended, but like having our kids see healthy habits and watch them. That's amazing because they then are going to most likely have these same healthy habits. And that is a blessing. Because I want my children to be the healthiest they can be. I want them to be the smartest they can be. I want them to be inspired to do whatever lights them up. So yes, we must have a plan and we must have a strategy. And I talk about that all the time, routine and structure, but we have that flexibility to change it up. And that is priceless. So here's one example. Sarah Light, the creator of Soul Planner, and I discussed this briefly on our last episode. And I've talked about this before as well. But think about when you have the best time for certain tasks, right? So creating time blocks for a certain task. So here's an example that came up recently, and this goes for myself as well. If you know Monday morning is going to be busy with work calls or setting the week up for success, whether that's at home, whether that's your business, whatever that may be, right? Monday morning just is a busy time. And maybe your kids are sleeping in because you've had a full weekend, right? Maybe the plan then is to do your direct instruction with your kids after lunch when everyone is fresh, when everyone has a full belly. Maybe you go for a walk and you come back in and you say, great, now it's time to do our block of instructional time. Whatever that looks like. Maybe you do your work at the park, and we're going to get to that for sure. But the other thing is thinking about just allowing our kids to have that freedom to play because that inspires them. Think about for ourselves. When we have downtime, we have time to think about other things. I remember when I was teaching full time. So I had two toddlers at home and I really had no capacity for anything else besides that. But I knew in my heart that I wanted to stay home with my kids and I wanted to start a business because I wanted to be home with them. I wanted to still educate families. I wanted to be home with my kids and still connect. But I had no capacity to figure that out while I was teaching full time and having two toddlers at home while my husband was traveling on top of all of that. So I was doing it all. And it was like a light switch. When I decided to resign from teaching, it was like, oh my goodness, all of these ideas kept flooding into me. And it was like, yes, I want to do that. That's what I want to do, right? It was like all of these things started coming in because I had that downtime. That's the same thing for our kids, right? And it could be not quitting a job, right? It could be taking downtime to go build a puzzle. And that's something that I've been leaning into. And sometimes I forget about that, but it is so powerful because then when you do come to your time blocks of school time or work time, you're refreshed. You're ready to not get to the next step, but to be able to tackle it with a fresh mind. So think about that. Think about that downtime even for our kids, right? Yes, they may say, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know. Say, go build me something. And then sometimes, even if you just let them sit with it for a minute and say, there's so many things that you can do. Here's the game closet. Give them some ideas instead of saying, just go play, because that can be overwhelming in itself until they learn how to navigate that, right? And I remember this a long time with my kiddos when they were toddlers. Tell them to go play in a playroom full of toys, and they're like, I have no idea what to do. But if you say, go build me something with the blocks in your cars, oh, now they have an idea. Now they can get something started. You can even go in for 5 minutes with them and start building or start playing. And again, I've talked about this before. You're filling their cup up and now they're full. Even if it was 5 to 10 minutes of that one-to-one time with your kid. And now you move on to your work tasks. And now they're occupied and you're able to work with a clear mind on what you're working on. So think about those things. If Monday morning for, whatever reason is full, do school in the afternoon. If Tuesday is a full day, like for me, we travel in the afternoon and I have more one-to-one time with my kids. So I work in the morning and then we do school in the afternoon. And it's okay. That's the freedom and flexibility that we have to create our own schedule. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about your schedule. And here's something else that kind of came up recently. It happened to me today, actually. Keep in mind that if you get up at 5 a.m., so for me, I get up typically at 5 a.m. Obviously, that fluctuates depending on, different stages of my cycle or what happened the night before. Was I up later? Whatever. But typically, I try to get up at 5 a.m. I try to get good devotional time, a good workout in, an hour to work, and then get myself ready before everyone wakes up. Think about that. I've already put in 2 to 3 hours before everyone else gets up and moving. So give yourself grace. We are not machines. We were not made to just go from one thing to the other. And I know I am one to talk because I do that often. But I'm leaning into this new phase of give yourself grace. I was sitting there with my kids today on the couch as we were doing our devotions and we were reading our chapter books. And I just felt my body just like falling asleep, honestly. And not because of my kids reading or my devotion. Like I literally had no more energy to give. Now I was hungry. One, I needed to eat, but also I just needed a quick little nap. And I put on an educational show for my kiddos that related to our Bible story. And I laid down for a few minutes and then I got up and got lunch and I was ready for the afternoon, more energized. So think about that. Take a nap if you need to. Go for a walk. Do a mindless task in between. Maybe that's building a puzzle. Maybe it's playing a game with your kids. Maybe it's going for that walk. Whatever you need to do to reset your body to go from one time block to the other. And again, I'm leaning into this myself and trying to really focus on that because that's hard for me. I was very much like, go, 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 move from this task to the next task. And yes, I hear you saying, well, what if I don't have that time? Because I said that. Well, I don't have time to do all the things. And I don't. But we have to make that time. And we have to also say, you know what? Whatever gets done today is going to get done today. And the rest of it, I'm going to roll it over to tomorrow. It's a hard concept, but our peace and our state of mind and stress level matter so much that it's not worth it. Because I've had those days where I just was not pleasant. And who was that good for? No one. I wasn't happy. My family wasn't happy. I wasn't productive at all. If I would have just taken a moment to say, you know what? I'm exhausted. I'm going to go take a nap and putting all of that judgment aside. Or I'm going to go for a walk by myself and I just need to go recharge. Or you know what? Why don't we just play a game together? Allowing ourselves those minutes and those moments of downtime is going to propel you so much further. So think about that and think about how can you put in these moments of downtime in between your blocks of time. Because we're all busy. We all have full days, and I know that. But what can we put in there that is like a brain break for ourselves? We incorporate them for our kids all the time. But what about for ourselves? Maybe it really is getting up and doing 30 exercises, 10 squats, 10 push-ups, 10 sit-ups. Who knows what it is? Maybe it's some stretches. Giving yourself a break and then allowing your brain to kind of reset and say, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready for the next task. All right, the other thing we're going to talk about is flexibility. So we talk about this a lot as well, but we're going to get into some juicy parts here soon, okay? So reading on the couch. I talked about this earlier, and I talked about how we can take our chapter books, our Bible stories, and sit on the couch in front of the fire, snuggle up, as long as we don't fall asleep, and listen to the Bible story. Read our chapter books and have these discussion points. And yes, I know you may say, I need the curriculum. I need to know what to teach. If that is you, I highly, highly encourage you to send me a message so we can talk further. I am starting a new membership. It's an opportunity for me to walk alongside you and say, here are some additional ideas for you and your family, allowing you to really embrace the freedom and flexibility. So if that's something that you're interested in, definitely send me a message or reach out and we will talk further about that because that's really important of how can I read a chapter book and know what skills to teach my kids if I don't have their curriculum with you. That's something we're going to talk about a little bit more too. The other thing you can be doing is discussing history at the dining room table. Anything and everything. If you go and look, there's a National Day for everything, right? There was just Ben Franklin Day the other day, or the month of February, we have George Washington Day and Abraham Lincoln Day, or their birthdays, right? President's Day, we have Pizza Day, we have all of these fun things. Do you know how much history you could do just by looking up facts about George Washington, facts about Abraham Lincoln, the history of pizza, when was pizza invented, and just really embracing those conversations and making it part of the dinner table conversation, where we're just saying, hey, did you know that we learned this? Because that is expanding our brain. And we are learning things that are interesting to us and things that are going to stick instead of just memorizing facts, writing it down, regurgitating it for a test, saying, yep, I remembered that, George Washington was the first president, and I remembered that Abraham Lincoln was the 16th president. But what did they do? Those things you're going to remember, but what did they do? And really being able to talk about them. There's so many different avenues to do that. Videos, books, Audible books, right? So many things that you guys can do to really embrace the history of our country, of our nation, of our world, and allow that to be part of your conversation. The other thing is just getting outside. Go explore nature, the beauty of the world. Go for hikes. Go and just take a walk and talk about all the things that you see. The birds, the different types. There's hundreds, thousands of different types of birds. You can learn about the birds. You can learn about the different types of trees and the flowers and the insects and the animals. You can talk about habitats. You can talk about, mating season. I mean, just so many things that you can talk about just by getting outside. One of the activities that I saw that was so cool was kiddos taking a ruler or just comparing shapes or identifying shapes while they're out in nature or measuring things with a ruler. Think outside the box. That is what really it's all about. Allowing you to think outside the box and allowing our kids to think outside the box. Just let them share their ideas. Because a lot of the times they have some wonderful ideas and some great ways, because if they thought about it, it's probably something that's interesting to them. And you can lean into that because you have the freedom and flexibility to do that. Get in the kitchen, make some yummy dishes together, practice measuring, practice fractions, practice making a mess and cleaning it up. These are all the skills that are so important for our kids. And right there, you're just making these memories of like, oh my goodness, remember when it was a snow day and we made chocolate chip cookies together? That was so much fun, Mom. And maybe they turn into traditions. So think about those kind of things, just having fun together, showing our kids how to make dinners, how to make eggs. My son has said to me on multiple occasions now, hey, Mom, I'm going to make eggs for breakfast. Do you want anything? How about some sausage? And I'm blown away by that because I'm like, whoa, my kid, number one, is so confident and independent in the kitchen that he's going to make me breakfast? Yes, please. And that is beautiful. Do the science experiments. Allow them to get curious about all the things. Why does water freeze? Let's figure it out. Let's talk about the snow. We just had snow here in Georgia for the second time this year, which was crazy. But let's talk about the snow crystals and how our snowflakes formed. What about the water cycle? What about anything? Crystals. You can make crystals. Anything could turn into a science experiment and just let your kids have fun with it. So think about that. You can do science by doing an experiment. It doesn't have to be a lesson all the time. Practicing math skills. Guys, to practice math skills, you really don't need a lot of things. I was thinking about this the other day and I was like, oh my goodness. We can practice math skills with number cards, dice, whiteboard, sidewalk chalk. Really, we don't need a lot of things. Because number cards, that's the essence of math, right? All numbers. You could do putting them in order. You could do time. You could do money. You could roll the dice and make it even more interactive and come up with numbers. Talk about place value. Measuring things. Literally, you don't need a lot of things to practice our skills. It's really life. It's enjoying life. And that's one of those things that I was like, I say this often. And I firmly believe that our kids truly are learning all around us. And that it doesn't have to be so hard. and we can do it with our kids. But sometimes I felt like, am I wrong here? Am I making this too easy? And let me tell you, what I've learned from 2025 is that it's allowed to be easy. And I'm encouraging you to embrace the peace and ease. That's why this is now home education with ease. I really, really want you to enjoy educating your kids at home. Enjoy the moments. Here's the thing, you get to make the rules. Throw the curriculum out the window and do what works best for your kids. If you need help going through your curriculum, if you're like, Christine, I spent a lot of money on this curriculum. Great. Let's go through it. Let me find the skills that your kids need to learn, and let me show you the ways that you can teach them. That's what we'll do in my membership. The Academy, I will make sure that we have a curriculum that best fits your kids' needs, your family's needs, by making it exactly what they need. And then you have me. You have the guidance and the support to be able to walk alongside you and say, I got you. You can do this, and this is allowed to be easy. So think about your kinesthetic learners. We talked about this in a few episodes ago, right? All the different types of learners. Think about them. They want to move. They need that sensory. They need to get up. They may be jumping around, bouncing on the chairs, making you crazy. Trust me, I know. But guess what? They are learning. Identify the skill that you want them to learn and get up and move with them. So here are a few ideas that I've shared with my clients recently. So we were doing facts and opinions, and I created an activity sheet because I still create the activity sheet so you have something. You have a tangible activity, right? But a lot of times I can say, oh my gosh, I have 5 different ideas and activities that you could do with this skill that you don't need anything. You can literally use the items you have in your home. But for this facts and opinion, right? I said, okay, here's your activity sheet. And we were doing it all about hot chocolate. Here's facts and opinions about hot chocolate. And I made it a little bit more hands-on by having them cut it out. Now, whether they want to do that or not, they may hate cutting. I don't know. But it's a good skill to practice, right? So they can cut out the strips of paper and they can place them on whether it's a fact or an opinion on the section, right? So it's a little bit more hands-on. They're moving around, right? And I said, if that still doesn't work and that's not engaging enough and they're not excited about that, throw it out the window. Make one half of your room of the facts, right? This is where you would go and this is where you're going to stand if this is a fact that I'm going to read you. On the other side of the room are opinions. This is if this statement that I read to you is an opinion, you're going to go on this side of the room. You can even make it more fun and say, I want you to jump from one side to the other. I want you to march. Think about things that are going to get them excited. And say, okay, here's my strip. Hot chocolate was invented 2,000 years ago. I think it was over 2,000 years ago by the Mayans. Is that a fact or opinion? Oh, that's a fact. Great. Go over on this side. And again, you're allowed to help your children because they don't know what they don't know. And you are allowed to share with them, like say, okay, you know what? Why is this a fact? Because it's true. I can look it up and I can tell you for sure that that happened. Now let's look at another one and say, hot chocolate is the best on a cold day. Does that apply for everyone or is that someone's opinion? Yeah, that's an opinion. So that's going to go on this side of the room and you can jump or hop or whatever you want to do to get over there. And you're practicing that skill with them because then the next time you go to do that, and it could be the same exact activity, do it over and over and over again. Because then you're practicing that skill. They've already had an example. You were modeling it for them. And now they're able to now do it, right? So again, one simple skill, fact and opinion, and how we turn that skill into a very fun movement kind of an activity. And it could be for anything. You could do facts and opinions in the car when you're driving from one place to another. Say, hey, is this a fact or opinion? Boom. Now we're practicing that skill. So as long as we know the skills that our kids need to learn, or we want them to learn, you can teach them anything anyway. And I firmly believe that. Other things like reading skills. We talked about this a little bit earlier with that chapter book. Say we're doing main idea, facts and opinions, right? You read a chapter and you say, okay, tell me one thing that was a fact. Tell me one thing that was an opinion. All right, we're doing main idea. What is this chapter mostly about? Well, how do you know that? Where are my details? What's telling me that it's about that? Again, we have to model it for our kids. We have to show them how to do this and practice it over and over again. It's all about repetition. Same thing with calendar. Calendar skills are the fundamentals of math. And they truly set your kids up for success with math. So think about that, making that part of your day and making it fun, getting up and moving, jumping around, jump for the days of the date, spell things out loud. And they don't have to sit still in one spot. Get up and move because it's more fun that way. And you're really setting them up truly for success, allowing them to use their brain in different ways. Now, if your kids thrive by sitting there, looking and listening, go for it. But if they need more, give them more. All right. And finally, I just want to share the last little thing here is be a salmon. And I know that sounds crazy, but go upstream. Go the wrong way. Because sometimes when we're outside of the box and we're thinking outside of the box, wow, so many brilliant things happen. So I'm going to share with you, I did some research and I found out that some of our most influential people were homeschooled. And the most interesting thing that I learned that some of them, their parents were not highly educated. And they turned out to be the most influential people. Wait till you hear some of the influential people I'm going to share with you. Mozart, George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, the 4 founding fathers of our country were all homeschooled. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president. Florence Nightingale, she helped to improve hospital conditions. Leonardo da Vinci, Alexander Graham Bell, Thomas Edison. And a story that stuck out with me with Thomas Edison, many of these I've heard different stories and I'm like, whoa, this is really cool. So I highly suggest you start researching some of these influential people and learning their story because it's really cool. So Thomas Edison, I read that he was sent home from school with an envelope. And he gave it to his mom, and his mom opened it up, and he said, "What was that about?" And she said, "Oh, they said that you're too smart, and I'm going to have to teach you at home. They can't teach you at school anymore." So he's thinking in his mind, they sent him home because he's too smart. Now his mom is going to educate him in the best way that she finds fit, okay? So she's determined to provide him with a good education. And what I found interesting was that she uses a hands-on approach to learning, the fundamentals of edu-play learning. Later on, he found that letter in his mom's desk. And that letter did not say that he was too smart to attend school. In fact, it said that he was not worth educating, that he was unable to think clearly and he was confused. And that mother, one, did not crush him, did not crush his confidence by sharing that with him, but built him up to be one of the most influential inventors. because she leaned in to how he needed to learn best. And I think that is so amazing because we need to lean in and say, how are you going to learn this best? How is it going to stick? How is it going to make an impact in your life? Here's some others. Eli Whitney, the Wright brothers, Ben Franklin, Albert Einstein. So many of our famous inventors, writers, artists, composers, and founding fathers of our country were homeschooled. And this I found was interesting too. So in addition to Thomas Edison, but even Albert Einstein, they were homeschooled because they thrived in a more personalized learning environment and struggled with the rigid structure of traditional school. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So I'm going to follow up with something that may be crazy, may sound insane to you. Okay. But I had heard some of these quotes going around. Okay. Well, first, let me share this one about Albert Einstein. This is an encouraging one. It says, education is not the learning of facts, but the training of minds to think. Oh, that's so good. I don't want you just to memorize a bunch of facts. Of course, we need skills. We need to know how to do math. We need to know how to read. We need to know how to write. We need to understand things, the why of things. But that's it. Training our minds to be a thinker. And that's the basis of it, creating these lifelong learners, allowing them to never stop wanting to learn. So here's the outlandish stuff, right? Here's the crazy thing. So a few years ago, I saw a video and I heard something that just stuck with me so much since then. And I encourage you to do a little search on John D. Rockefeller. And it's going to amaze you. And make sure when you search, you look up his quotes on education. Teach them everything about nothing. So here is a quote that has stuck with me. And before I even tell you the quote, what I learned before this was children learned how to read, write, and do arithmetic, the 3 R's, right? In Sunday school, a few hours a week. So they would go to school for a few hours a week and learn how to do the basic R's, right? Reading, writing, arithmetic. Other than that, they were home learning how to cook, how to sew, how to hunt, how to prepare food, how to live, right? How to take care of their families. So why, if children were able to learn how to read, write, and do math within a very small period of time each week, is our school system set up the way that it is? And this is the quote that sticks with me now. Teach them everything about nothing. I don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers. That was by Rockefeller. Holy cow. If that doesn't open our eyes to knowing that our kids don't have to be learning 8 to 3 p.m. every single day, I don't know what does. And guys, I was a public school teacher. So I'm not saying any of this to put down the school system because I know many families don't have many options. But I do want to shine a light and say that you are doing amazing. And that what you're doing for your children by showing them how to read, write, and do math, you are teaching them so much because they're watching every other step that you're doing. And who knows? Do you have the next inventor right in your home? Do you have the next influential composer or artist? You could be raising a legend. So keep that in mind. You can teach them so much in our time together, right? It doesn't have to be an all-day thing. in the small amount of time together by being intentional. So here's an additional question to our previous question. What's one way that you've taken advantage of the flexibility in your home education journey? So what's one thing that you have done that has allowed you to really embrace this flexibility and freedom that you get to home educate your kids? So definitely encourage you to share that in the Facebook group. Share any takeaways that you had as well. I want to hear them. I want to hear what made you go, whoa, that's crazy. And I encourage you to look it up. Start doing some research. All right. So here is the other thing. Again, any questions, anything that you think, join the conversation in that Facebook group. Okay. So I would love to hear your thoughts on the topic, and I want you to share your insights. Okay. So we talked a lot today about embracing the freedom and the flexibility to educate your kids at home. We talked about throwing things out that are causing frustration and try something new. I encourage you to look up the Rockefeller quotes and research influential people that were homeschooled. And I definitely encourage you to be a salmon and swim upstream, doing what works best for your family. Because remember, learning can happen anywhere, anytime. And this is your chance to create an educational experience that truly resonates with your child and really, really is embracing and encouraging them to be lifelong learners. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me on this conversation about freedom and flexibility in our home education, and some things that may seem kind of out there, but like I said, definitely things that are important for us to know. So I hope that this left you feeling inspired. And if it did, I would encourage you to share this with a family that will encourage them as well. Okay. So remember, find that learning environment that fits your family. Enjoy the freedom, enjoy the flexibility, and be a salmon and swim upstream. Well, what I want to invite you for today is go ahead and download the free home education vision freebie there, and that's going to be in the show notes below. There's also a video that goes along with it. I did a workshop, and I will share that with you as well. So go ahead and download that Home Education with Ease vision plan, and it's really going to help set you up. Like, what is the vision that we have for our family? What does this look like? And what are some things that worked? What are some things that didn't work? And then I will share the video with you so you guys can go through that with the video. And what I want to also encourage you is I want to share with you a little bit more about the membership that I have to offer. So the Home Education with Ease membership is all about linking arms with you, walking alongside you, and saying, I've got you. And knowing that you're not alone, knowing that you have community as you navigate your home education journey, wherever that may be, whatever method that is for you and your family. And how can we really lean in to what your family needs, whether it's your schedule in particular, or whether it's your child's learning styles or any variation. So I definitely encourage you to join and check out the Home Education with Ease membership. And feel free to send me a message. Feel free to reach out to me on social media. I'm on all the platforms. And I would love to walk alongside you on your home education journey. All right, everyone. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you for tuning in to the Home Education with Ease podcast. I hope today's episode left you feeling empowered and ready to take the next steps on your home education journey. Your support means the world to me. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend. For even more resources, be sure to join the free Facebook group, Home Education with Ease, and visit eduplaylearning.com to explore our programs and subscription kits. You can find the links and any other links mentioned in this episode in the show notes below. Remember, you're not alone. This community is here to support you every step of the way.